Okay, so this turned out to be quite a long tutorial. So what I'm going to do, ultimately this is our goal. We wanted to get to a point where we could see our pumps in context, in regional, national context. And so we added some base layers, and then we added a CSV file with the GPS coordinates for those various pumps. And then we're going to color up using the different pump types. And then what we'll also do is we'll symbolize according to the size of the number of, or the amount of people served by each of the different pump types. So this is where we're getting to, and this is quite a long video. So what I might do is I'll break it into two pieces. The first piece will be just adding some layers, symbolizing them, and then adding the CSV. And then the part two will be symbolizing the newly added CSV pumps with a rule-based symbology. So break it up into two videos, and then hopefully it won't be too long, and you can get through and learn how to do it. So let's crack on with that. Let's start with part one. Hi guys, it's Ian here. I wanted to show you how to set up that QGIS project using the pump data, the GPS pump data spreadsheet that you sent me. Now, I know you're relatively new to QGIS, so I am going to run through what to do. But if you think that it's a bit overwhelming and there's a bit too much that's coming through, don't worry about it, because I am going to send you those tutorials which will take you through QGIS and introduce you to QGIS in sort of a more structured way. So this video is just a quick video to show you how to do what you need to do right now. And if I am going fast or too quickly, don't worry about it. You can just pause the video and rewind where you need to. Okay, so I'm going to open up a new project of QGIS, and I just want to start with a blank slate. Okay, so we want to import those GPS coordinates from that spreadsheet that you sent me, but then I just want to add some base data that we can overlap it with, just to make sure it's in the right place. So I did download some data online from the OpenStreetMap servers. I'm not sure if I've sent you these layers, but if I haven't, you're more than welcome to them, because they are open source layers. So I just want to open up those layers that I have on my system. So I have got them here. Okay, so there's my OpenStreetMaps layers, and from this layer, or from these layers, I just want the roads. So I'm just going to select the roads, OSM places, traffic, roads. I'm just going to add that one. Okay, I'm going to add that. And that looks like Burundi boundary, so those are the roads. Happy with that. Then I want to add some political boundaries. Okay, so we've got admin 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is, I think these are the different levels of administrative boundaries for Burundi. This bottom one here, I think, is the actual the country boundary. So let's add all of those. Add that. Okay, so maybe I can just change the order here. Get the roads on top and get the country on top of that. And change this. I'm going to turn the roads off for now. Just change this country boundary to a let's see. Maybe I'll make it solid. No brush. Let's make the boundary a what color should we make it? Make it a purple color for now. Okay, let's see how that works. Okay, so there's the country boundary. Then we've got some administrative boundaries here. See, we've got two boundaries there. The one is the provincial, and the one on top, it looks like I think what we'd call them here is local municipalities, but yeah, I'm not sure what you refer to them as. So we're going to change the, maybe I should just rename these quickly so that you can understand exactly what's going on. So if I just rename this to provincial, we know what that one is. Administrative 2, okay, we'll leave that as that, and then this is the country boundary. So let's just call it, yeah, Burundi's fine. Let's just take that away. Just rename this to roads. Okay, that kind of makes more sense. I'm going to turn that one off for now, and then just color up the provincial boundaries. From properties, I'll go to my Symbology tab, I want to categorize these based on a field attribute, and the field attribute I'm going to use is name. Random colors is fine. I click classify. I can remove the blank one, and I just want to change the layer rendering. Let's make this 50%. Apply that. See what it looks like. Okay, so those are provinces, and these you can go in here and double click on these and change the colors if you don't like them. So for instance, you want to change that one from green to, oh, I don't know, maybe like a pink, like a light pink, something like that. You could do that, and then if you click OK, then that one will be pink. If you don't like the colors at all, you can shuffle random colors and redo it. Apply that. See if you like the new sort of configuration or the new selection of colors. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of not what we're trying to do here, but we just want to get a map that's going to work for us. And what we can now do is change this one. This is the, like I mentioned, like what we'd call the local municipal boundaries in South Africa. I'll change that stroke width, and I'll change the stroke color to white. White is 6Fs. Is that 6? No, I don't think that was. I think that was closer to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6Fs. So apply. Okay, so now we can kind of see, and maybe that's a bit thick, so I'll just change it to make that a little thinner. And you can experiment with the thicknesses depending on what your map scale is going to be at the end of the day. Okay, so now we can kind of see what's happening here. We've got our municipal boundaries within the provincial boundary. Okay, and if we need to label those, we can use these labeling tools. I'll just label the provinces for now. So select this little labeling button. Make sure I choose the right layer to label, which is provincial. We're going to have single symbols, and then we need to choose the administrative name, which is for the province. Okay, should possibly turn on a little buffer. Okay, so there we kind of goes. Now the colors indicates where the province changes, and the province boundary, we can see these two colors are maybe a bit too close to each other, but we can still see that there's a boundary there, and that is how we work that. Okay, so we're happy with that. We can say apply and turn this off. Alright, so that's kind of like a base map. I think you also mentioned you wanted some rivers. Let's just go and have a look for those. If we go into the OpenStreetMap layers, I think there's water and waterways. Let's open those, add them. Okay, so we'll maybe just change the name here to water bodies. Water bodies, and then this one can be, we'll change this name to rivers. And I think, as you can see, that's quite a detailed layer. So maybe there's too many rivers. It's a bit busy. There's a bit too many rivers there. So let's just change the. If we look at the attribute table, see we've got a class here with stream and river. So maybe let's turn the streams off so we only see the rivers. So you can do that by right-clicking on your layer, go to properties, and then under it's under source. The source tab here. There's a query builder, and that opens a little query builder dialog box. And we're going to create a little expression to only draw the features with the values that we want. So we can say feature class equal to, and then just see what the options are. We've got canals. Let's say feature class equals to rivers. So we're only going to draw the rivers. We'll say OK. And before we go out of here, let's just change the symbology to like a light blue, something like this. And I'm just going to add that blue using this arrow to my color palette so we can use that same blue for the dams. I'm happy with 0.26. Let's just use that. Okay. Alright, so they're not showing up on some of these colors. If we turn the provinces off, you can see them. Maybe we need to put them on top of everything. And possibly the wrong color. So you can play around with these colors and see which color works for you. And I just want to change the water bodies to that same color. And symbology. Okay, I don't want to click on simple fill. I want to turn off the stroke width. So I'll just, for stroke style, I'll just say no pen. So now there's no boundary being drawn. And then the fill color, I'll just choose that little blue that I selected. Okay, so there we go. I think that works for me. I'm going to put roads under. And you can fiddle around with the order to see what the best order is going to be for you. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these provincial colors because the sort of the blues and the purples are not working with my river color. So I'm going to select properties, and I'm going to choose a different color ramp. And what have we got here? There's a number of different color ramps. So what would be a good contrast to blue is maybe like a yellowy green thing. Does that work? No, you see it's going back to that one. If we chose reds and applied it, how does that look? Well, that kind of works. Okay, let's stick with that one for now. So apply that and say okay. So all I did is I just changed the color ramp so that it's a different sort of hue to the blue rivers. Okay, so we don't want to dwell on that. Okay, so now are we happy that we've got what we need? Possibly we can just turn on the roads. So if we turn on the roads, just like the rivers, very busy. So I'm going to exclude all the sort of less significant roads. So open the attribute table and see what the field is. Okay, so there's also F class, and we've got a whole bunch of different road types there. And another way to do it is we'll just say categorize on that field, which was F class, classify. There's a whole bunch here. I'm just going to remove the ones I don't want. So I'm selecting them all, and then I'm going to deselect the ones I want to keep. So I assume, what is it, primary, tertiary, I'm going to leave, secondary. Let's turn everything else off, see how that looks. Apply that. Okay, that looks quite a bit better. Maybe we can just now just change the thickness and color of these things. So I'm going to change this color to like a darky brown red, and then maybe just the line thickness. Okay, we'll change it to 1, and then these secondary ones we'll just change that thickness to a 0.5, just so we can see the less significant roads aren't drawn as thick. Let's just maybe make this a bit smaller and then apply it to see what it looks like. Still pretty busy, but okay, there it is. We can always turn this off if it's sort of interfering with what we want to see on the map. Okay, so the other thing we would add is the place names, but we can do that at a later stage. So now I think that the main focus of this video is we want to see the Excel spreadsheet and how we import that Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to open that spreadsheet that you sent me, and I've stored it here on my system. Okay, where is it? It's under GIS, original data tables. Okay, this is it here. Just double click to open that. Alright, so this is what you've sent me. And I can see you've got some filters set, and we need to export this as a CSV. And we've got the GPS coordinates here, which is great, but we need to do some editing here because I see that currently we've got one column, which is fine if we choose the right setting, but I prefer to just stick them in 2 columns just to be sure that I have all the coordinates and that the coordinates are in the right format. And just scrolling down, I see there are a few differences which we may need to edit, and these need to be numbers, not text. You see this one here has a little space in front of it. You just need to remove that space. Oh, now it wants to redraw it. So that space is not great. We need to take that space away, but we'll do that with some processing now. And then the other thing is we don't need any of the styling, so I'm just going to remove all the styling and get this to be a uniform sort of format. And then also if there's hidden columns, I need to remove those. Okay, so there are hidden columns, but I'll remove those last. So first thing I want to do is just take all the styling away. So I'm going to change it to no border, remove the underlines, choose a single text format, maybe Calibri at 12. Okay, so that's everything. We can just make them all black. Yeah, that's fine. And then also I don't want a background, so no full color. So we're almost there. The other thing I just want to do is just take away the filters. So under data, I can just say filter, turn those off. Okay, now this little hashtag that I want to call ID, and these other values are fine for now. Okay, so we want to insert a column here, and then we want to basically split this into two columns. So we select this column, and then we go text to columns, and it's going to tell us or ask us what we want to split the columns with, and we're going to use that little comma is going to be the delimiter, or the thing that splits the column. So we'll go next, and we'll choose column, and you know what, I did see a semicolon in there as well, so I'm going to choose semicolon, so it does any records that have a semicolon will also be split using that same format. Next. I'm happy with that. See, it tells me, okay, this is what you're going to get at the end of the day. Finish. And that's fine. We'll just say okay. Let's see, it's added another column here. Why would it have done that? Okay, it's done that because there was something wrong. If we backtrack, if we just go Control Z, there was something wrong there. There might have been a space. Just go Control Y to just go forward again. So what we can do is we can just stitch that one onto that one. So that one is 29 at the moment, but it should be decimal place 1849666. Okay, now I can delete that column. We don't need. Was that the only one? Okay, so there's something wrong with that formatting, so it stuck it in two columns instead of one. Let's delete that. You know what it probably was? I think there was probably a comma instead of a decimal place, and so there were two decimal places, so instead of splitting it into two different columns, it split it into three. Okay, is everything else looking okay? We just scroll through. Any other funny looking values here? And this is where maybe you'd need to pay more attention and just make sure, for instance here, okay, we don't have a second value for what is going to be our longitude. And here's our latitude. So it just requires you to come in and just edit. Look. A lot of the time, the format of these spreadsheets may need a bit of processing. So this is the kind of thing you would do. So in this example here, we need to copy that. Okay, I'm just gonna paste it in there, and then we can remove that 29. You see, so there was no comma, and likewise here you've got the 30. Okay, so the longitude of 30 degrees east hasn't been separated by a comma, so we'll do the same thing. We'll just select that, copy that, paste it in there, and then just delete this one. Okay, so I'm happy so far. There's quite a few numbers here, so you may need to take some time and just scroll through to make sure you get the right values. Okay, here we go. Same thing again. So this one was separated by a space, and that's not good. It's got a little apostrophe in front of the whole value. Oh, it's back. That apostrophe is not good. We need to delete that. Now it wants to add a. Oh. Okay, we might have to just watch this one. If we put it through and it treats it as text and not a number, we're going to have to come back and edit that somehow. Okay, see, it's treating it as text. We don't want that to be text. That's better. Okay, so now there's no apostrophe in front of it, so it's not going to treat it as text anymore. I don't know why these are aligning to the right-hand side of this column. Usually a number aligns right and text aligns left. For instance, look here. Number right, text left. So we just need to change the format of all of these values. So for these two columns, select them, we'll right click and format the cells. They should be numbers. We'll give them 6 decimal places. So there's plenty of decimal places to ensure the accuracy of the coordinate. And I'm just going to go ahead and align them right as well. I'm not happy that they're not aligning right. Okay, so hopefully when we export this, the new file comes through and treats these as a number, because as a text is no good to us. Okay, so they look like a whole bunch of hidden layers in here, or hidden columns. So let's just expose all of those. Unhide. Ooh, okay, so here we go. I've unhid a couple of records as well. So if we unhide everything, okay, those records that were unhidden didn't have coordinates. Alright, so there's no coordinates for this pump. So that's something you may need to go in and edit as well, or to go and capture. And just based on your email, you were looking to color up on the number of people served. I think it was. Okay, so this has been treated as a number. Yeah, that's treated as a number, so that should work. Is that everything? Okay, so I'm going to export this now. So currently, I'm going to save it as something else in the Excel spreadsheet format. I'm going to save as, and I'll just call it twells edit. Okay. Okay, just in case I don't want to ruin the original folder, so that's why I'm saving there's something new. And then the other thing I just need to do now, so that I can import it as coordinates, is save it into a CSV or comma delimited file format. So now I'm going to say save as, and then you just need to change this file type from XLS to comma delimited. Now there are two other CSV options here. We don't want those. We don't want the Macintosh or the MS-DOS version. We want the comma delimited version. And then there is the version we want. So we can say save. Yes, multiple versions. It's okay. We're just exporting this sheet that we're on. And that should be good. Right, we should be able to close this down. And we'll have a new CSV file there. It's quite a bit smaller because of it drops a lot of formatting. So without that formatting, it can be a smaller file. Now we need to import those coordinates into this project. Okay, so those GPS coordinates look like they were decimal degrees, and I'm kind of making a bit of an assumption here, but I'm assuming that the coordinate reference system that I was using was WGS84. So GCS WGS84, which is the same as this EPSG 4326 a notation here. So if I just click on that, this is the coordinate reference system of the view, which is this one here, WGS84, and it's a graphic coordinate system, geographic coordinate reference system. So I'm going to assign that same coordinate reference system to the new layers that I am importing. Right, so let's import that CSV. So if we click on this Open Data Source Manager, we need to search for delimited text. We go and search for that file that we've just created, which was under GIS original tables. There we go, twells edit CSV open. Okay, so it's comma separated values, perfect. Then it's already got it's preempting the X and Y fields, which were longitude and latitude. And then the geometry CRS, if yours is different to this, you need to choose this, EPSG 4326. And then what it does is it shows you a sample of your data, and if you can see they're in columns, then you've got the correct method for splitting up the columns. If not, then you may need to change this to custom delimiters and go choose the correct separator for those columns. But CSV is fine. So because we've got that chosen, and it was CSV that we exported it as, it's got separate columns. So I am happy with that. So we can add that and click close. And there we go. So the majority of them look like they're in the right place. There are obviously a couple here that have probably got an error with the coordinate entered. So that's a bit worrying, because if these have errors, it's possible others have errors. So in this instance, it might be because when it was captured, or if it was captured by hand, they didn't enter the right number of coordinates, or they got lazy and it didn't, or there could be some other corruption. So it may not necessarily be human error. It could be something to do with the GPS, or where the satellites were when these coordinates were captured. But anyway, the basics are there. We've imported the twells edit as a CSV, which was our GPS coordinates, and here it sits. So it's basically, the program is referencing an external spreadsheet and using the coordinates to spatially reference that layer. Okay, so the next step is to actually symbolize or style this new pump layer that we brought in. Maybe we can change that name actually. Change that to pumps. Okay, so there's our pumps layer. If we open the attribute table, which is the same as opening the spreadsheet, we'll look and just make sure that we have the correct values. And here is a problem. Okay, so what's happened here, you see this is aligned left, so I know that the program is treating this as a number, which is not correct. So something's happened here. More than likely, in the original spreadsheet, there's like a little space in front of a value, which is very hard to see. But what it does is, because of that space, it treats the entire column as text, which is not great. So I actually have to go back in, and that's a good reason for not for creating a there we go. There's a reason. Where was it? See NA. So where it said NA there, that's one reason why this value would be a text instead of a number, is because it's got text in the column. So we just need to go and change that. So we won't use this one anyway, but let's go re-edit the column in the spreadsheet. Okay, so let's go back. I'm just going to remove this layer. Okay, let's go open that spreadsheet again. Where is it? Yeah, original data tables. Okay, we can use the edit one. And we'll write over the top of that one when we get the chance. And it was a column over here, maximum to serve. So now you see, it's not obvious to me if there's a space or some character in there. So I just right click, and hopefully this will work. I'm going to say format cells. I want it to be a number, and there's actually no decimal spaces. So just treat that as a number. Will it do the same for this one? Number, no decimal places. Let's see. Okay, nothing really changed there. I'm just going to remove the not applicable text. Hopefully that'll do it. If it doesn't, there's another trick that I might have to use. But let's just double check. So format cells, just make it a number. Okay, hopefully that works. Now let's save that, and then save it as a CSV again. Okay, where is that CSV format? There it is. There's that file. Let's just call this version 2. Yep. Don't worry about it. We've already saved it. Thank you. And let's add the delimited text layer again. We'll navigate to the new one, version 2. Open that. Happy with this. Same projection or coordinate reference chosen. Add it. Close. Please, let's hope it works. Now if we just scroll across, hopefully they are now being treated as numbers. And yes, they are. Okay, so in changing that formatting in the Excel spreadsheet, these are now numbers and not text values or strings. So now if we do if we start styling on gradient and value, we can have the smaller values a different color to the higher values, or a different symbol size, etc. So that's what we needed. Okay, so we can close that down. Happy with that.